Hey there, very warm welcome to their system design. And in this day, we discuss a little bit about this framework and API, and that really very interesting concept. Because of that, when you discussing high level design, that's the really very big puzzle of the high level design, and we need to consider this particular example as particular concept as a main part of the uh, high level design, and that's the basic important concept we should to discuss, because overall that's the back end logic and front end logic, and that's not part of the back end front end logic. This is all the part of the back end logic. So the first we discuss about framework. So exactly what the real framework is. So it's all about little bit something make easy to code, and I give you just thrill over there, and just API. I give discuss a brief description around API and try to explain you like real world application to understand much about API, how actually API is and what actually API is, and more about API. So again, if this particular one is going to productive for you, if you learn something from that, then it's my pleasure. And see you soon. Hey, let's come to their first agenda. And in this particular agenda, we discuss a little bit about framework. So what exactly framework is, and that is a very important part, very important part for this particular one. So let's start. And exactly when we focusing on framework is all about design for Mac easy to code. Okay. Uh, okay. So just I'm not giving you entire context of definition of 100 or 200 words. I give you three simple magic word to explain you entire the concept of framework. The first one is a structure, reusability, and abstraction. So basically, the framework work on these three main magic words. So how actually you understand structure? You're given a structured programming. Now suppose let's suppose to understand the first one. Okay, when you want to make a code. Okay, when you want to make a code and you are writing for a code for just making a application. Okay, you need to just write a code and okay by 100 lines of the code. Okay, what happened if the 90 lines is already written, but you need to only for 10% of the code over there. 90% of code already written. What happened with 10% of the code you write, and the all project is ready right now. So with less effort you can achieve your goal, okay, your application. So when you're writing a code 100 lines of the codes, this is a very big enough. Okay, for framework is all about it give a structured way to write a code. For example, you want to make application, you need to write 100 lines of the code, and framework provide you all the particular code is already written pre-built code. Okay, so it is like uh, something you can say the blueprint. Now you want to design a home, okay, but the structure is already present here. You just need to adjust where is the kitchen of suppose, let's suppose. Okay, now this is the entire blueprint of let's suppose you are just a map out your home blueprint. What happen if the blueprint is already ready, 90% is already ready. Okay, you need to adjust where is the kitchen, where is the bedroom, little bit about it. You need to adjust 10%. For 10% effort your blueprint is already ready. So from your side 90% of code already written, but you need to add only for 10% of code according to your changes. Okay, so that's the particular one which provide a particular software. Actually when you writing a code, you need to just adjust only for 10% of the code. For 10% effort you make entire application for less effort. So that's provide you in a structured way for understand the code, like it already pre-built code all about it. Okay, so you need to add only for 10% of code over there, and your particular goal is ready right now. So that's all about the particular one, and that the necessary part to discuss, because the framework is all about something you can say um is pre-built code, which is a structured way to process the particular one. Okay, and second one, reusability. So framework provide you all the libraries. So, okay, now you are not understand what exactly library is. Library is just a particular library is just a sets of functions which actually have pre-built functions, but you need to only for use for it in your code for understanding more logic, to applying more logic over there in the code logic. So that's the library. And framework is all about something the pre-built libraries, so you can use any parts of the code. Okay, and abstraction is about complex task. Okay, in your code logics, lots of complex tasks is now suppose when we're talking artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is not just only for writing a code in just rule-based system. It's all about mathematical calculation. We are dealing with actually calculus. We are dealing with actually linear algebra, vector, and neural network. It's a very tricky concepts and lots over there. And that I think like that's important because of that. Like when the people actually face that, so when you want to write this particular code from the scratch, it's very difficult to just imagine. So framework provide you all the pre-built functions, pre-built libraries, pre-built codes, which actually help us to reduce your effort. You need to apply only for 10% effort to make entire application. So that's exactly framework is. And nowadays, like people are focusing on vibe coding, but doesn't matter like how you can focus on vibe coding. They try it, but when you just try to understand like how actually vibe codings work, like you have no any control over the entire code logic. So if there any bug happen here, that you are not going to understand what's exactly what happened here. So that's actually that's the particular one. I understand a little bit about framework. So framework is all about a structure, reusable, and abstraction. So it is all about something you can say reduce your 100% effort to 10%. You need to add only for 10% effort to make an application. All particular code is written already written here. Okay, you need to adjust only for 10% effort over entire code basis to make your application much better. So that's actually framework is. So uh, to benefit of use framework, it's all about consistency. You can say consistency because of that. When we're talking about consistency, it's all about when you're writing a code. Okay, so few part is very tricky to understand. So you write a code in such way like all the particular data are consistent over there. Okay, for maintaining a long-term vision. So framework is already written here, and for community supports, all the particular one. When you scale the code, you need to add only for so consistency and scalability is important because two benefit of the using framework is like consistency and scalability. Because when you uh, just scale your code writing a different logic and so on, you need to use only for that's part of the code which already pure built. You not need to write from the scratch. Okay, so that's the particular one you I want to just deliver about framework. So that's actually framework is. And example of framework, so there are lots of example of framework, but in artificial intelligence neural network framework is like TensorFlow, scikit-learn, and PyTorch is the best example for this. Okay, backend for Django is the best action. App development for React and Native, lots of framework, but I will give you a brief description about it. Like actually, I give you about lots of example about neural network. Neural network is all about something uh, calculus, weight, biases, anything else. Like lots of mathematical calculation happen inside it, and lots of mathematical logic run inside it. And as a programming is not possible to write a code from the scratch. The structure is already present, so framework provide you a structure and reusability and reduce your effort from 100% to 10% to make entire application. So that's particular one framework is. So I understand a little bit about framework, and I will try to connect you this all particular one with framework is like this. And again, if this particular one going to productive for you to learn something from there, then it's my pleasure. See you soon. Hey, let's come to the next part and next agenda. And in this agenda, we discuss a little bit about API. So what exactly API is, and that's the important part to discuss. API is all about like application programming. API stand for the application programming interface, and it is the middleman between their two different pieces of the software. So it's all about like when the two different software want to communicate each other on the purpose of exchanging a data. So that's the important part to the big role here is about API. So API plays important role in that exchanging like transportation layer between the both piece of the software. Now suppose in that case like user and UI, this UI is a backend logic which actually want to connect with the databases with the API. So API deals the all the particular kinds of data transfer between databases and the particular backend logic. Okay, particular user. So that's the basic one. And again, as a promise, like I will always try to connect to you all this particular example with three magic word. So let's come to discuss. The first one is API is all about the endpoint request response. So endpoint refer to the door of server. So it is all about door of server. So it always request to the server and take back response. Okay. So for example, let's consider this is the particular server. This is DB. Let's consider this one is a server, and that's we call the particular endpoint. And API always request. This is DB request and get back to response. Okay, so there are a few rules and regulation here, and the important part is like privacy and security matter too much while you're looking toward the API, and that's a really important one to discuss. And because API is a transportation layer, is let me consider this one as a real world example. For example, in a restaurant, it's look like waiter. API look like waiter. So waiter which carry the food from one place to a kitchen to their particular customer. So that's the particular waiter is a API which carry the particular food or particular snacks, anything else from the kitchen to the restaurant per customer. So that's the basic one API. The role of the API is similar like this. Okay, like waiter. So in that case, API is all about something you can say it's work like the communication layer between the two different pieces of the software, which is either inside the particular in the location or either outside of the location. Okay. So for example, you know about the ChatGPT very well, and in this particular ChatGPT, as we know, like look, lots of the software are running inside it, like, and when we are talking with the ChatGPT, when give a prompt, that particular information not processed in your local devices. It's take a nanosecond to move toward their databases of the US. So it process the all particular information and just give you a response at nanoseconds. Okay. So in that case, I think like API is play important role for your local devices to your US databases. Okay, so it take the data from Exchange and the particular process information to your local device to show you as a particular response as a ChatGPT. So that's all about it, and that's the really important part. So endpoints refer to the particular door of the server. So it hit the door of the server for request and response, and that's the particular important part of the API. Okay, so the types of the API. So API basically have the three main major types: REST API, GraphQL API, and SOAP API. So this one is really necessary to discuss. Because of that, REST API is all about which deal with some kinds of the protocol, which is your website actually made by REST API, and the REST API is all about follow the HTTP protocol, which actually uh, this particular protocol is all about get, put, and delete, that kinds of the protocol which HTTP protocol refer to. And in that protocol, they have a multiple endpoints. For example, if you want to find out some kinds of the information, for example, when you prompt it to Google, it give you lots of context around it. It not give you such a specific information. So that's they have a multiple endpoints. For example, lots of information, unnecessary data also give you about HTTP request. So a graphical API is important, and the format they exchange the data is like JSON format they use. And next part is GraphQL. GraphQL is all about you can say this particular API is all about something have one specific endpoint. So it make different from their REST API is all about it was simpler like one endpoint which actually you can say uh, it deals with only for specific data. When you want to fetch out specific data from the database, use that kind of API. They never give you unnecessary data. They follow same as a protocol like HTTP protocol. They also follow. They also deals with the format of the JSON format also, and that's the basic important one. Okay, and our last part is SOAP API, and this both API is flexible and so this both API are flexible, but this one is professional. So this one is professional because of that lots of enterprises banks are actually using that kind of API because this is too much secure and strict protocol they can use. Okay, and lots of security are available here in the SOAP API. So actually they deals with a lots of information there. Okay, and the bank servers, and that's a very secure server that we need actually on the security purpose, privacy and security purpose. So that's why when you deals with this REST API, so SOAP API actually facilitate you like how can you just manipulate all over there, and that the really necessary one part of the particular SOAP API as a part of this. Okay, so that's the SOAP API, and SOAP API is all about different because in somehow it is professional, and it's only for personal like enterprises and the banks using that kind of the API, and too much this is a too much secure when we comparing from the both types of the API. Okay, and they the only different in that they exchange the data in format of XML. They exchange data in XML format. Okay, they both are dealing with the like JSON format, but they actually deal with the XML format, but all the things are same. Okay. Uh, Okay, so that's all about the types of the API. And again, if this particular one is going to productive for you, learn something from there, then it's my pleasure. And be a part of this particular system design. This is the important part of high level design. Because of that, we consider to discuss low level design to as much fast as possible. And I try to connect all the particular one with the real application to explain you much better. I will always try to give you 100% to understand much better about it. Okay, see you soon.